Good morning, everybody. Welcome to quilting in your pajamas and coffee. Cheers. I'm glad you're here today. We are going to be making block 5 in our Sawtooth star block. If you've been following along, we've already done blocks 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so this is the last ones that I made, blocks 3 and 4. They are super cute. I am going to start working on block number 5. I'm going to go ahead and grab my one of my charm squares, and we're going to get started on that real quick here. I want to make sure that the camera is set up so you all can see. All right. Let me grab that real quick. I'm just checking to make sure that you can see what I'm doing over here. So, and it looks like you can. We're going to work with this one today, which is the peacock, and I love that pattern. It is so cute. Oops, sorry. Let me see if I can zoom in there a little bit. You can see that right there. So super cute. Okay. And then I'm going to grab some colors that I think will match with it. Let me see here. Or maybe we'll just do it in a white and make it pop like that. Okay. I think we're good. I think we've got our colors chosen here. All right. So I am just going to cut these because that's what we need to do here. I'm sorry I'm not completely set up and running. All right. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see what I'm doing here. All right. We're ready to start. All right, so if you've been following along, then you should already know the measurements, but what you will need is you will need one 5-inch charm square. I have the charm square pack that I'm using. It's by Tula Pink. It's the line work designs that she drew, and I have that linked so you can get the charm pack if you would like to follow along and do it the same way that we're doing it. I am pulling from my stash, just scrap stash that I have. This is from the Monkey Wrench line. This is also a Tula Pink. And then this is just a random fabric fat quarter bundle that I picked up at my local quilt shop. And I'm not really, it doesn't tell me who the maker of this is. So you can use any, but I'm going to go ahead and use this one for today. So what we're going to do is we're going to set our charm square aside, and we are going to cut our pieces. And normally I like to do this before we start, but I'm going to just do it today because we're just hanging out on a Saturday morning. And it feels good not to be doing anything other than playing here in the quilting studio because, man, I need the break, I gotta tell you. All right. And I'll, of course, drop things like I always do. because why would it be any different today? All right, so I'm gonna want, I think I want these to be my the star. These are going to be the star. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut 4 3.5-inch squares. And I'm just going to use the lines here on my mat like I normally do. And then I'm just going to cut a 3.5-inch here. So you'll need one of the darker. I also have this rotating mat link down below too, if you're interested in it. If you don't have one, they are so amazing. As you can see, I didn't have to move my fabric at all to do that. 3. If you have an AccuQuilt, you can use your AccuQuilt to cut your squares as well. I just recommend cutting them at the 3.5 at 3.5 inches, because you will have to square them up at the once we put the half square triangles together. So we have that put together now. So we've got those cut. That's going to form the star that's going to go around the square. And then I have this really pretty white, and I'm going to actually have that as my corners and my my points here to help make the stars. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut 4 3.5-inch squares so that they will go along with my other squares to make the half-inch, or I'm sorry, the quarter, no, what am I trying to say? The half square triangle, duh. So that's what that will do. And then we're gonna cut at 3 inches. But first I'm gonna press this because it's kind of wrinkly, and I do want to get that out so that I cut it straight. So I'm just gonna come over here to the pressing area and press that. So I got that pressed. And now what I'll do is I'll just fold this in half. And I'm going to do my 3.5-inch cuts first. So just line up there. Okay, so there's the 3.5, and now I'm going to just cut 3. 1, 2, 3. These are my corner squares. The 3-inch squares are the corner squares. And I cut them a little bit bigger, even though we're going to trim them down to the 2 3/4. I cut them a little bit larger because it makes it a little bit easier to square it up. It's better to have more than not to. So this one up just a tad so I can cut this one. Now I'm just going to cut my 3-inch squares here. What's everybody got planned for today? So today I am going to be working on this. We're going to do this first. And then I'm going to pre-record a video showing you how to make a quilt wall. But it'll be a movable quilt wall. And I'm going to do this because I am in need of one very, very badly. So if you remember, I used to have a quilt wall, and it was an old tablecloth that I had up against my wall. Well, now that my walls are full, I don't really have any room for that. So I'm going to make myself one that's portable, and I am really excited about it because I think you're going to love it. It's going to be super easy. Good morning, Teresa. All right, I'm going to grab a pencil. You can also use a friction pin. Actually, I think I'm just going to grab whatever I can find over here in my little stash. We'll use purple today. How does that sound? We'll use a purple friction pin. Okay. Feels good to sit down, let me tell you. I have been working out and I am sore. Very sore. Okay. So first things that we're going to do is we're going to take our 4 squares. We're going to take our other 4 squares, our lighter color. So it's best if you have a light color and a dark color. It will help your star to pop more. Otherwise it gets a little muted, but do whatever works for you. It's your quilt. It doesn't matter. So I'm going to take these and do them right sides facing each other, but first what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my lines. And so all I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a diagonal line just like that on the back of my square. That way I will know where I need to sew it. And I can't see your questions and comments right now because I am not in front of the camera there. So if you have some, just drop them below. Okay. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to put these right sides facing each other. So we're going to take a white piece and a purple one, and we're going to do them right sides together. And you can pin these to hold them together, or you can clip them, or you don't have to do anything really. It's really up to you. I will pop some pins in here just because it does really help to hold it in place. Again, right sides together. See how quickly this really does go. And if you've been making these already, you already know how fast they go. So, and I'm sure some of you are probably way ahead of me yet. So, okay. But I enjoy doing the blocks with you live because it gives us time to just kind of hang out and, you know, sew and do things. All right, so now I'm going to go over to my sewing machine and I am going to sew a 1/4 inch on each side of my drawn line. So I will do a 1/4 inch on this side and a 1/4 inch on this side. So I'm going to go do that real quick and then I shall be right back. Sure if I could turn that. Good morning. Jennifer, I'm working on the Sawtooth Star Block number 5. Teresa, it's sunny here today, but it looks like it's a little bit chilly. But tomorrow I think it's supposed to be in the 60s. Yesterday we had snow. It was cold and snowing. So welcome to Colorado. I'm gonna see if I could turn this and face it towards the sewing machine, but then it'll move this place. So I don't want to do that. So just hang on. I'll be right back. I am just going to sew our 1/4 inch on each side and then I'll be over there just a sec. Just about there. Just stabbed myself with my pen. I never thought that I would say this, but I miss my Janome. I miss my Janome machine a lot. I really miss it a lot. I have the Bernina Tulip Pink edition now, and I don't know. I mean, I have wanted this sewing machine for ever since it came out. And now that I have it, I'm really missing my Janome. I just love the way that it, I don't know. I know I'm crazy. I know. I've actually thought about trading it in. All right, so now I'm just going to cut my squares that I've sewn together. And you can see I did sew 1/4 inch right on the opposite sides of my line. So now we're just going to cut them. I like to keep my triangles together. I know I've mentioned this before, but the reason for it is if you sew one that's a little bit wonky, you can still get it to fit with your other piece, whereas if you try to put one of these with one of these and it's sewn weird, it won't match up. So I just find that to be the case for me. I'm sure that other people have differing opinions, which is okay, but that's how I do it. All right, so now these are done. Our half square triangles are done, and now what I want to do is I'm going to open this up, and I'm going to press one towards the light side, and I'm going to press one towards the dark side. And I'm doing that so that when I go to put these together to make our star, oops, the purple is the star, right? Yes. You can hear my dog running around up there. So when we go to do this, they will nest. These seams will nest right here, and they will nest perfectly. So that means that they'll go together perfectly because they're going opposite directions. So I am going to press these real quick over here on the pressing, my ironing board here. I like to set my seam before I do anything, so I set it and then I just give it a little bit of steam. And then I keep those together. And I will just keep doing this for all of them until they're all done. There's that. We got those all ironed out. Come back. And now what we're going to do is we're going to trim off these little dog ears. And they're just those little tiny little leftover little triangles on the edge of your half square triangle. They're called dog ears. And so I'm just going to trim them off. If you're working with an AccuQuilt cutter, it will already have them cut off for you. So you won't have to deal with dog ears, which is pretty nice actually. But I don't have a 3.5 inch die for my AccuQuilt, so that's why I am doing it this way. This goes faster if you use scissors that are really sharp. I'm just using my little snips here, so. Okay, done. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is I am going to brush all that aside. So now what I wanna do is I'm going to take my charm square, and I'm gonna look and see how this is going to look when I lay it out. So I'm gonna lay out the design first. And you always, always, always want to do this. Otherwise, I get this wrong every time. So I have to lay mine out. Oh, you know what? We have to trim them first. Skip the step. Should have known better. All right, so we want to square these up to 2 3/4. I knew something seemed weird. Do you ever do that? You start going along and then you're like, why does this not look right? Yeah, I do that quite a bit. So I'm going to measure 2 3/4. Actually, I'm going to measure more than 2 3/4 right here. And then I'm going to get it all squared up because I want to make sure I have enough fabric to trim off here once I spin this. This is the most time-consuming portion of the block, is actually the squaring up of these blocks. But trust me, if you don't square these up first, it will become a nightmare as you're moving along. So you definitely want to make sure you have your blocks getting squared up. All right? It's worth the time, I promise. So I'm going to do these at 2 3/4. And I'm going to line up on that. I'm going to trim this out. So what I'm doing is I am just taking this little line right here on my ruler and I'm lining that up on my seam line. And that is how I am able to get my square perfectly squared up. Now those are nice. Now they're correct. Can't believe I did that. I usually line mine up here on the edge, my bottom edge here on my line on my mat. And that helps me to line up a lot better. Oops. And I am using an an Omni Grid. Four and a half inch square to do this. It makes the squaring up of blocks so much easier. You can do this with a regular ruler too, but I just find that this makes it so much easier to get things done with, especially when you're doing a lot of these squares, which if you wanted to do all of these in a day or so, you probably could. It's hard on your hands though because of the squaring up and stuff. So this is actually very hard on my hands. My hands aren't young like they once were. Everything seems to take a little bit longer than it used to. I remember when I was younger, I used to be able to piece an entire baby quilt in one day. I can't do that to save my life now. Now I need a couple of days to do it. So, of course, I also think I just try not to push it as hard as I used to. I think you kind of learn to slow it down a little bit as you get a little older. You learn what's important and what is not. Oops, I moved that one. That's okay. We have one more stack and then we're good. Then we can lay out our block. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit better and you can see how I'm cutting that. I have not seen those, Teresa. I'll have to look into those rulers. Okay. Hopefully you'll be able to see it a little bit better. I'm trying not to walk so that the camera doesn't bounce all over, because my floor does that in here sometimes. Okay, so I'm going to use this line right here. And I am using that line as my guide. And like I said, I'm cutting these a little bit larger when I do the first cut. So, leaving it at like about 3 inches. And then I'll show you why here in a sec. Now I'm going to turn my mat. Hopefully you can still see where I'm at here. And then I'm going to just do it at 2 3/4. I'm going to measure that out. And that like fits it perfectly. So I'm lined up on this seam here. And then I have my 2 3/4, and it's just a perfect square. So let's do that again. Again, I'm going to just use this line right here to line up on my seam. Turn it, same thing, and then we're going to go to 2 3/4, Still lining up on our seam here. And we look like we're good to go. And now we're done. Yay, voila. Okay, so now we're gonna lay it out. And I'm gonna back the camera out a little bit. Hopefully you were able to see that. I'm gonna really have to try those, Teresa, because this cut and stuff gets real tough on my hands, which is really why I prefer my Quilt. But we can't always use Quilt when we're squaring up, so. Okay, so now we've got our charm square. Again, I have these linked in the video in case you want to get a set for yourself. It's a charm pack. I'm going to try and figure out how to do this correctly now. It's the opposite way. Yeah, like this. Okay. So. And you want to make sure that when you sew these together, that you sew them together correctly and not like I did one time and sewed them backwards. So that can be deeply frustrating if you're not paying attention. That's why I always lay mine out first. It just makes more sense to do that. I'm going to turn this because I need to be able to see it real quick so that I don't tell you the wrong thing. Sure that I'm doing it right. I always have to lay them out. I'm sorry, but I just do. It doesn't matter how many times I do this, I still have to lay it out every time. It's like my brain just doesn't work that way unless I do it. All right, so right now you can see that these are a little bit too big for the square. It's not lining up perfectly. And that is because we still need to sew these together. Okay? So we will do that. That will be our next step. But for right now, I'm just laying this out so you can see what it's gonna look like. So there we have that. So yeah, that's right. So this is what our block will look like once we get it all sewn together. So now I'm going to switch over to the sewing machine because that's where we're going to be for right now. We're going to be doing a lot over there. I like to keep my rotating mat. This is also why these are really nice. Or you can use a mat, not a mat, what do we call those? A project board, quilt board, quilt board. I have some larger ones and some smaller ones that I've made, and all it is it's just like a foam board, and you can cut them to whatever size you want them, and then I just put a piece of batting here and then glued some leftover binding that I had. Just did that, glued it down. Those come in really handy too, because now this one's going to be way too small for my block, but you can set your stuff on here like this, and then you can take it to your sewing machine. If you don't have a rotating mat, I would highly recommend getting one of these or making one of these. They're super simple. There's a lot of different tutorials. I think Lori Holt has probably the best tutorial I've seen on it. So yes, I would definitely check that out. But for me, I just like to pick it up and take it over there on my board. So that is what I'm going to do, and then I will come back and take you over there with me so that you can see what I'm going to do. Okay. I gotta tell you, the quilting room is kind of a mess right now. Okay, so if you are the type of person who gets dizzy when something moves, then I need you to just kind of close your eyes and give me just a sec, because I'm going to move this. Okay. Here we go. There you go. All right, so we're just gonna sew, but I'm gonna show you how I sew the pieces together here. Gosh, my husband has a humidifier going and all the condensation likes to stick to my thing here. It drives me nuts. Okay, I'm gonna put my guard on here so that I know that I'm gonna get a perfect 1/4 inch seam. Tighten it. I mean, this is really a nice, this is really nice. It does give you a perfect 1/4 inch seam. I don't know, I just don't feel like this machine feels me. Call me crazy. All right, so I am going to sew our 1/2 square triangles together first. So, and we did press them to opposite sides. So they're gonna go together just perfect. I'm going to be chain piecing these. And normally I would use matching thread, but for demonstration purposes, I am using a black thread. And so that you can actually see it. Okay, so we have those all put together now. So we're just going to cut those pieces apart because those are from we're done with these. I am going to press my seam open. Hope you can see that. I will just press that open like so. And then I'm going to go over to the ironing board and press them open. So I'll be right back. Probably mention that when I'm using a smaller I press my seams open, I do use a smaller stitch length. I usually set it to about 2 inches, or sorry, 2 millimeters. And that makes it so that the stitching is a little bit tighter for me. And that's how I press them open. All right. And now we can start attaching our rows here. We're just about done with this. So, that one's lame, so I'm just gonna trim that. Right. So now we're gonna lay this back out. And now you can see it's fitting on here. I hope you can see that. So now what we're going to do is we are going to sew our top row, our center row, and our bottom row together. So I will start with the top row, and I will line my fabric up with that bottom piece there. And I'm just going to start stitching. And I'm going to put my half square triangles on there like that. And I'm going to start sewing. Take the bottom one, same thing. Okay, now we're going to just do the same thing here. So we are going to do the other side of our top. Is that there? I always do this. We have to start from the bottom. Okay. Put our other side right here on our charm square. Can always use a stiletto if you need to. Probably should instead of my fingers. Just line this up. Okay. Oops. Hit the wrong button. All right, so now what you'll have is you'll have something that looks like this, and you'll have all of your threads still together, like right here. So what you want to do is you want to take your the top of your design, and you want to take the squares and press them outward. So you're going to press them to the left and to the right, just with your finger. Then you're going to take your inner one, and you're going to press that towards the inside, okay? And I just like to give it a little tug with my wrist, and I just press it. It wants to press to the inside anyway, naturally, so press those. Then we're going to get down to the bottom, and again we're going to press one to the left and one to the right. Okay, and now we're ready to assemble our block. So I'm just going to flip them, and these little strings that we have here, these little threads that are holding on, are going to help us to keep everything nice and lined up. So we are going to have a perfectly lined up star points. So you do not want to trim those threads just yet. It really just kind of just lays there. It's actually pretty nice. So I'm going to do that. Make sure everything's nice and lined up. All right, now I'm just going to start sewing it. Sure that this is all lined up over here as well. There it is. Okay, so we have that one done. Now we're going to do the same thing to the other side, to this part here. And so I'm just going to flip it. Again, I'm going to make sure that those little threads are lined up, which they are. And we'll start sewing. Okay, maybe not. Come on. Created a mess. Now, if you want to, you can trim those little threads that we were using to help us put the block together. So I'm gonna go ahead and trim up. This will make it easier when we go to press this. And again, I am going to press my seams open, and I do that because it reduces the bulk, especially when you get a lot of seams going like on these things. So everything looks good. I sometimes like to just take my finger and open it up and press the seam open here at the table, depending on how many I'm working on at a time, but just press it open. Makes it easier when you go to the pressing. I'm going to do that to this side as well. These usually go pretty quick. It doesn't really take that long to make these once you get going and you have everything that you need. All right, I'm going to press this open real quick, and we will do the finishing touches. I'll show you what we'll do next. I'm just gonna move this over here. Okay. Thank you, Jane. To do. All right, so the next thing that we need to do is we need to square up the block, and so that is what we're going to do here. So we are cutting these down to a 9-inch block. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be using my ruler here, and I am going to be cutting them at 4.5 inches. Boy, I had to think about that for a moment. What I do is I line up my seams on my mat. So I'm going to line up that center seam right there. And I'm going to make sure I'm lined up on the bottom here too, so that I'm straight. Now I'm going to take my 4.5 inch mark here, and I'm going to set it there, right on that center seam. And then I will trim this side. Turn my mat. I'm going to do the same thing, but this time it's not lined up on the mat here, but I know that it's still straight because my line's here, are still straight. So all I'm going to do is find my 4.5-inch mark on my ruler again, and I'm going to just line that up, and it lines up actually really perfectly right there. So here's my 4.5-inch, and then I'm going to trim this part off. Voila. Here we are lined up on our mark again. Same thing. Just gonna lay down my 4.5-inch line and trim. We'll do it again over here. So this will be our last cut. This one I want to double check. So always double check. There's no harm in that. Sometimes you miss little bits like I did. This one's looking kind of jagged up at the top, so I need to trim that. That's much better. And that is that's what our block looks like. It's nice and straight. Okay, so now we want to count it and make sure that it really is 9 inches. So let's look. I don't think so. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we're good there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we are perfectly squared at 9 inches. And that is how you do that. All right. I am going to just move this camera a little bit for you. And that way I can maybe see you. Let me flip this. There you are. So, easy peasy, right? I really love this block. I think I've told you that a bazillion times, that this is probably one of my favorite blocks, like, ever. And I'm super excited for this quilt because I can't wait to see what it turns out like. I think it's going to be just absolutely gorgeous. And I'm just using up my Tula Pink stash that I have here. I did buy some new Tula Pink fabric. I know. And I have a plan for that one too. And then she's releasing, what is it? Abbey Road, I think it is. Tabby Road, which is kind of a play off. Thank you, Mary. Is kind of a play off of the Beatles, Abbey Road. So I ordered it. I pre-ordered the box. If you want to pre-order the same box, you can get it at pinkdoorfabrics.com. I'm excited. It is so exciting. I got the half yard bundle from them. It doesn't ship out until April, or I'm sorry, until July. But you can sign up for it until April. So I wanted to do the full yard. I just couldn't swing the price, so I just went ahead and did the half yard. But it comes with all the fabric for the Tabby Road, and then it comes with all the solids too, and all in a half yard bundle. And then you get some extra goodies in there too. So pretty exciting stuff. The fabric that I did buy, if you hold on, I'll show it to you because I know you want to see it. You can see it first right here before anybody else. This is the other one. This is the dog one that she came out with. And it's all wrapped really pretty, so I don't want to open it up just yet and cut into it. But like, here's some bunnies on the back. I think this one is the Friends one. Trying to think. But it's so cute. Oh my gosh, it is so, so cute. Look at those beautiful colors in there. Aren't they pretty? I love her colors. I think that's why I'm so drawn to her fabrics, is because of the colors. They are absolutely amazing. And then I got just some solids. So yeah, these are just Free Spirit solids, solid bundle. I think these are fat quarter, my friend's thing. And then I got some Aurifil threads that'll match. So pretty excited about that. That really is it. I don't think I bought anything else. If you ask my husband, he'll tell you that that was enough. I love it. But anyway, yeah, so if you're interested in getting her Tabby Road, check out pinkdwarffabrics.com. They're here in Colorado, actually. They're actually here in where I live. And I do go up there when they have their days open. And it's a great place. It really is great. It's actually not very far from me. It's just kind of like right up the highway. So I go up there, and it's one of the quilt stores that's closest to me. And they have such a great selection, and they're really nice in there. And I do love it. So yeah, I think that's it. I just wanted to show you how to do that. And that's it. Hi, Francis. I just am really, really excited about it. So we're going to have quite a mix going in that pile. I'm just saying. It's going to be pretty cool when it's done. I can't wait to get it on the long arm and start quilting it and showing you what that looks like, because I think it's going to be a blast. All right, guys, I am off to do another tutorial for you. I'm going to show you how to make a portable quilt wall. That's what we're going to be working on. So wish me luck. I'm a little nervous. But I think it'll be great. Actually, I think one of the guys at Lowe's took some pity on me yesterday, because I asked him if they will cut foam board, and he told me no. And then he said, I'll cut it for you though, because I have he had a little X-Acto knife or whatever. And so he cut it for me so it would fit in my car. So I'm gonna fit in the car. So, all right, well, you guys have a wonderful weekend. Thanks for joining me this morning on your beautiful Saturday morning. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend, and I'll see you guys on Tuesday. Keep on crafting. Bye-bye.